We'll do
What's
it
going
live.
on, YouTubenites? Welcome to Lords of the Long Box, and a Merry Christmas to you and yours. I hope you guys are having a happy, safe holiday season. Come and quarantine with us for the next 30 to 45 minutes as we talk some comic book lists. And this is your favorite top 11 of the year. So let's kick it off in some festive music that's going to get blocked in Korea.
Dubai, I think.
Dubai.
Yeah.
I think Syria and Iran. So those
Okay.
folks, sorry about that, but this Led Zeppelin doesn't like you to watch their music.
They
Sorry,
get
guys.
auto claws down there.
All right, but here's some music while you guys congregate to get you in the festive mood.
That is good, boy. I'm digging it.
Mary Zeppelin for you, blocked in Iran, Syria, Korea. And the Jimmy Page doesn't want
You
you
know
to
what?
listen
If
to
they
us,
have a
man.
VPN, then they can see it.
There you go, man. But hey, welcome to the probably the last show before Christmas, man. If we do have a shakers list, I don't know if we do it because it's on Christmas Eve. Maybe during the day, like noon, since everybody's working and I don't want to, everybody's busy. So maybe I'll drop it myself. But Christmas Day, we're going to have something special. But once again, this is the Cover Price Top 10 brought to you, our friends at CovrPrice.com. Go to CoverPrice.com, sign up for a 2-week free trial for all your comic price guides, need collections and trends. And this list vary here. Also, our friends over at Rocket Comics, tell them the Lord sent you, get 20% off your pressing order. Also, our friends at KRS Comics. Go over to KRSComics.com, use discount code of LOTLB to get 15% off any KRS Comics exclusives. And we're all rocking our Lords hoodies. You don't get the red one since that's a special variant, but go over
You can
to
get
our
the
friends.
black one.
Yep, the Geeky Swag Shop right now and get your Lords of Long Box hoodie. It is straight chilly out there. Speaking of straight chilling, my man, Santa Otto, say what's up.
What's up, everybody? Good to see everybody. I got out of the restaurant early. The tips were fine. So got off the sleigh and head down the chimney. And here I am with you guys tonight. So I'm excited to be here.
Speaking about heading in the chimney, my man Darkside Jedi, say what's up.
Hey. What's up, everybody?
Should be ho ho ho.
Oh, well. Hey, ho, ho, ho. We got to go.
All
I want to say happy birthday to my son, Gavin. He turned 14 today. I wasn't expecting to be on, but they left early, went back to their mom. So I am here with you.
Happy birthday to Gavin. And you guys will see Ryan on his Oculus Quest later on tonight for the next 24 hours straight. Shout out to everybody in the live chat, Six Face Comics, Wesley's Comics, Spineworks Comics. Everybody's got comics in the name. Sean Miller Grunt Comics. Victoria Pajak. Will Scoey asks, how many Star Wars books will there be this day? And I set the over-under at 3.5. So place your bets in now. 3.5. Winner gets a Marvel No Prize.
Boom.
Seth Lordney and JLS Comics holding it down with the wrench. Shout out to our friends, all the fellow lords. Gonna make it today. Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas to all of yous out there. Let's get right to it, boys and girls. As usual, this is the Cover Price Top 10. It is always one book that almost cracks the top 10, but doesn't quite get there. And that book today is the runner-up, and that book is this one. Young Avengers number 1 from 2005. Young Avengers is proving itself to be one of the most important books for Phase 4 of the MCU, packed with first appearances. We already had 2 confirmed members of the MCU. Will Speed and Wiccan be next in WandaVision? You never know. We're just saying maybe so. I've always touted this book as it's the next wave of hot books that people spec on are team books that feature multiple first appearances. I mean, if you think about it, Giant Size X-Men is a really one that kicked it off, but there's modern ones, Young Avengers, New Ages of Atlas, Strange Academy. All these books are team books. It sold 20 copies, had a 7-day trend of 113%, had a high sale of 500 for a CDC 9.8, and this is just the regular cover. There's a director's cut, which is half color, half black and white, and there's a sketch cover, which is probably the most rarest of them. That's the our old Wizard World LA book.
One of those?
I sure do. I got a 9.8 signed by the artist Jim Chung. I cracked a CBCS 9.8 and I got it pressed by my man and facilitated by Rocket Comics. And Jim Chung signed it at WonderCon for me, and it kept a 9.8. So one of the few. I always said I would never ever do that. So, but the only I do make an exception if it's PGX or CBCS. So, luckily, I kept the 9.8. And also, you have to have a good eye, man. Look through the slab to see if there's anything that would keep it from. Because I've seen 9.8s that have like an imperfection in it, and if you're cracking it, you're asking for trouble.
Hey, yep. I cracked a 9.6, not paying attention. It came back a 9.0 because it had a rusted staple.
Oh,
right.
And I didn't notice it. Yeah,
that was crushing.
It was super crushing.
Even if it's
on
an
a big
old,
key.
Yeah. Even if it's an old label, man, you still got to use your experience as a collector and look through the slab, or ask your presser. Say, hey, man, look through the slab and tell me if it's worth cracking. And get a professional opinion. Just because it's old or a certain thing, it doesn't mean it's always gonna be pressable. Ask Roger that.
That's right. That's right.
So use your spidey sense and figure it out. All right, let's move on to, and let's start off with number 10. What do we got for number 10, boys?
Well, number 10 is our first Star Wars book of the night. Lock in your over-unders. This is Star Wars number 2. This book is still climbing after the Disney summon announcement of Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Disney Plus series. His first appearance in this issue has been a long undervalued book, as it also features the first Han Solo, Chewbacca, Millennium Falcon, Jabba the Hutt, and Death Star.
We've always said this is.
That's right.
Go ahead and finish it. Man.
Yeah, for sure. It sold 46 copies and had a 7-day trend of 100% and a high sale of $999.99 for
it's
a CBC 9.8.
It's 1,000. Let's round it off. Let's round up. We've always said on this channel, when all the Star Wars books are picking up, even when the last series trilogy came out and Han Solo was in it and then he died. Spoiler alert. Yep. But we always say, hey, man, why isn't this book moving up? And not because I have 2 raw copies either, but I would say it's even hard to find. And it's good to see that all the Dark Horse comics and modern Marvel comics, but also the original Bronze Age run.
Yeah, man.
Number 1 is doubled in value. Because I look at a 9.6. My 9.6 was worth about $300, and now it's about $700
no
on
way.
a 9.6. 9.8 is always been expensive, but it's always been a big gap between 9.6 and 9.8. That's what she said. All right. So number 10 on the list, boys and girls, is Star Wars number 2 from 1977. All right. What do we got for number 9, Otto?
Number 9, we're coming down to Invincible Iron Man number 1, 2016. This issue, it features the first cover appearance of Riri, named in a Ironheart suit.
Riri.
You guys set me up on this. I know you did. It's not seen in the first issue. This was the first book that heated up from the Disney investors call, which confirmed her receiving her own Disney series. It sold 38 copies, had a 7-day trend of 141%, and a high sale of $35 for a near mint plus raw copy. You can check it out on eBay. So it's heating up. We know about this. We've been talking about this forever. The Women in Power. We know Tim has that book, the 2nd and 3rd printing. So people should be going after this book, and we can see on Instagram that people are. So you guys are listening.
Yeah, it's actually 2 different volumes of Invincible Iron Man. So it's number 7 from one volume, number 9 from another volume. One is the first appearance of Riri Williams, and another one is the first appearance, and then a cameo. It just goes all over the place. But this book is on this list because it's relatively expensive compared to the other books, right? After everybody was snatched up the cameo and the first full appearance, and everybody's snatching this up. Pretty sure people have snatched up variants, but it's Disney Plus. Everybody's specking hard on it. So number 9 on the list is Invincible Iron Man number 1 from 2016. Remember that. This is a very specific in the order that they go. All right, what do we got for number 8, Ryan?
Number 8 is a book we've seen a couple times already in the past weeks. Daredevil number 25. Going. It's still there, and this is the normal cover, I think.
Yeah, cover 8.
This is a Marvel 2020 release. While sales are slowing, prices are holding for this first appearance of Elektra as Daredevil. Can it hang on to the top 10 next week? We'll see, I guess, right? This week it sold 70 copies and had a 7-day trend of 83%. and had a high sale of $50 for a raw copy. $50 for a raw copy. Wow.
I think it's going to continue to go because Manimal's LCS and my LCS, they never got their shipment, and they don't have any more to give out. So they gave the money back to the LCSs, and the Diamond's like, sorry, we messed up your order, but there's no more left. Unless, there was.
Is there a second printing?
There is a second printing, and that's selling out as well. The second printing actually features Elektra on the cover, so that's why people are going out and getting. But basically, it's just the interior of this cover where it shows Elektra jumping off of a building. Spoiler, if you don't know, but yeah. But it's how they do reprints; they just take the best internal art. So, but in that, it shows there's a panel in Daredevil 23 that shows her in the DD costume, and it just shows how weird 2020 is, because it's not the first time somebody else has been Daredevil, but it's 2020. People jumping on it. I mean, we've talked about, just be careful. Read the previews for Daredevil 27 before you think this is a long-term play or anything. But, it's 2020, man. You never know. All right, number 8 on the list is Daredevil number 25 from, 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
All right, number 7 on the list. What do we got, Ryan?
That's
me. Otto.
Oh, that's
me
Otto.
right
Sorry.
there. I'm on it. Here we go. So it's not a Star Wars book, but it's a Thor book. Thor God of Thunder number 2, right? So Marvel 2012, and the Investor Summit also confirmed that Christian Bale will play the villain Gore, the God Butcher, in Thor Love and Thunder. Out of all the hot books, this book received the most attention and excitement, causing prices to skyrocket. It sold 50 copies, had a 7-day trend of 121%, and had a high sale of $500 for a CGC 9.8. Many are wondering if Gore will wield the Necro Sword. If he does, then brace yourself for a wave of null speculation, which actually brings us to Thor God of Thunder number 6, the origin of null, with a 9.8 hitting a new high of $599.99 this week for a 9.8. This is already outpacing the standard cover God of Thunder number 2. So tons of Gore stuff, tons of null stuff, the Necro Sword. Donny Cates has been planning this for a long time, and we're going to have to see what happens with this. This is insane right now. So get those books, get them slabbed.
Yeah, so just full disclaimer. So way back when we had a long-term spec list about the plans that Marvel Studios had for Thor Love and Thunder, we had a long-term spec list that Thor and Hercules for the Thor franchise going forward from Thor Love and Thunder and on, and Gore the God Butcher was on there. Not null, though. Like we always say, Disney Marvel doesn't really take really, really recent characters and put them onto the big screen. Gore is from 2012. If you think about it, just recently, maybe the exception being Riri Williams, right? If you think about Riri Williams' first appearance is 2016. Null is 2019, 2020. So I'm not saying it's
no. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible, but just what Marvel's Disney's track record, 2012 Gore, God of Thunder, very critically acclaimed book. Me and Ryan talk about it a lot. This is one of the best comic runs of the 2000s.
I mean, hands, it is phenomenal. I recommend everyone buy this trade and read it.
Yeah, I mean, people are stretching it a bit thin to draw a line between Null and this book.
But Null isn't he more Spider? I mean, I get that he's connected to the.
Well, that's why I'm saying is you're not going to see him in a Marvel movie because it would be a Sony property since his first appearance is technically in a Venom book. Sony owns the theatrical rights to that unless something else changes. So I don't care what other YouTubers or bloggers or whatever is saying. That null spec is great for comic books. If you think it's coming into the MCU, just pump your brakes a little bit and know it's a Sony property, and Sony would have to develop it and work with Kevin Feige. Why do you think they're pulling from Jason Aaron's run? Because this is a Thor God of Thunder book. It's all Marvel. It's all Disney. They do whatever they want with it. Null is into that strange area like Silk and Spider-Gwen, where they're kind of shared properties with Disney and Sony. So, we had Gore on our long-term spec list. Nothing about Null. Not saying it can't happen, but just be careful.
Do you think that they're going to go to the God Bomb storyline? I mean, that would just
this would be the God Butcher. This is Butcher. Yeah, this is totally, because that's why he's in this book. This whole story is
good. It's going to be so good.
I mean, that's why we had Hercules on our long-term spec list, and now I think about it, it makes more sense if Gore is going through killing all the gods of Pantheon, and he runs and then a Hercules pops up. Oh my God, that would make your eye sockets melt out of the fucking range, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Think about introducing Hercules coming in to save Thor's ass, right? And then everybody in the comic world, that's Hercules, and then people are like, who the hell is that guy wearing a skirt? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But,
right.
yeah, it's Thor and Hercules. It was those interesting things where technically Marvel or Disney owns the theatrical rights to it, but really nobody does, since it's an old. It's like Hans Christian Andersen, right? Anybody can really make a movie about it. It's it's just old mythologies. That's why you have multiple iterations of Thor. There's an actual book right now, a comic by Neil Gaiman about the gods of Norse mythology. So it's a little bit of everything, but gore. Very, very specific to the Marvel comics and the God Butcher storyline, which would be dope. Dope. That would be epic. And I almost thinking like, man, the last Thor movie was kind of tongue in cheek. But
I mean, you could almost do a trilogy of movies
Right.
based on that run.
You really should.
Yeah, man. The future Thor's, his 3 daughters, man.
Right.
All great stories to tell. I would say.
And another run of books that I sold at an auction too early. So if you want to get good books, come to our auctions, because I tend to give them away before they pop.
I still have my entire run of Thor God of Thunder. So,
Oh, so
I think
do
it's
I,
time.
yeah.
I think it's time to slab these bad boys and see what I can get.
Right.
So,
You got it. It's time to do it. Send them the rock.
number 7 on the list, Thor God of Thunder. Number
And
2.
don't forget, number 25, the last issue of the series. Isn't that the first appearance of Jane Foster's Thor as well? So
after that, it led right into that storyline.
Thor number 1, right?
Yeah,
so
man.
there you go.
There you go. So number 7 on the list, Thor God of Thunder, number 2 from 2012. All right, what do we got for number 6?
Well, hell, a DC
Yeah,
book
look at
on our
that.
list. Look at this.
And it falls in your lap. Teen Titans.
I know.
Brian.
You
There
gotta
go.
love it. It's Kismet, right?
Yeah.
Teen Titans Endless Winter Special number 1. This is a DC 2020 release, and this issue features the first appearance of Summer Zahid. This is a young girl whose metagene was activated during the Frost King's invasion, and it's thought that she will appear in DC's Future State. This first sold 33 copies and had a 7-day trend of 232%, had a high sale of $23 for a raw copy, though these prices have settled to about $15 with CovrPrice. Copies popping up in between those higher sales.
So this is like 2 weeks in a row. We get like a
Little winterish.
Yeah, the
DC,
other one
right?
was really wacky, but this one, so I guess it's not really a Christmas book, but you can call it a Christmas book since it's called Endless Winter, right? So first appearance of Summer Zahid. So there you go. If you had Summer Zahid on your 2020 bingo card, then
Mark it
you
down.
are winning. But hey, DC's got to get some love somewhere, right? So number 6 on the list, Teen Titans Endless Winter Special, number 1 from, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. All right, so if you're playing the over-under at home, what's next?
We got a Star Wars book,
Oh,
number
Star
2.
Wars.
Or this is the second Star Wars book of the night.
Yep.
This is number 5 on our list. This is Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron 1. We got another Dark Horse series getting some love from 1995. Wonder Woman 1984 director Patty Jenkins is going to take care of this. And she did such a great intro to explaining why she wanted to do this. It gave everybody the chills when she talked about it. It's set to release in December 2023. The speculation is leading towards a series featuring the original squad, giving this first Rogue Squadron series a nice bump in sales and price. It sold 21 copies, had a 7-day trend of 404%, had a high sale of $85 for a raw copy. So Rogue Squadron, ready to go. Here we go. Let's see what happens with it. Interesting.
The continuing adventures of Wedge Antilles. There you go.
Another set of books I auctioned early.
Oh,
So again, join the Lords of Longbox auctions. You'll get some good stuff.
yeah. So
Maybe there might have to be one after Christmas. Wink, wink.
Yeah, so a quick question in the live chat. Wesley says about we were talking about Noah. We'll go back to that real quick. I think it was answered by Sean in the live chat, but the question was Marvel created Null, so they should own the rights. Not really. They own the comic book rights. They don't own the rights to. Basically, Sony says anything that Spider-Man created in Spider-Man comics, they have the rights to put onto the big screen, and I believe. Animated movies, any animated, I think, shows under an hour or 40 minutes or 30 minutes, something like that. I think Marvel owns the rights to it. If you remember their Spider-Man series, that 30-minute animated series with Nova and all those characters, that was a Marvel show because the show, remember, it was on like Disney Plus or was it the Disney Channel, right?
Disney XD.
Yeah, so there's some interesting like contractual legal things in the fine print from the Sony agreement and Marvel agreement. And obviously it tweaks a little bit, and they tweaked it again when they did, hey, we want to be able to use Peter Parker. And if it's done in the MCU, as in Avengers film, that's all Marvel gets it. Now, if they did Spider-Man Homecoming, basically Sony is saying, okay, we're putting up all the money, but Marvel Studios is doing all the creatives on it. They're hiring the actors, and they're doing they're picking the actors, and they're doing the creative side of it, but Sony gets 100% of the process. I think maybe Marvel gets a really small percentage, like 5-10%, but it gave Marvel or Disney the rights to say, hey, we can now take Spider-Man and put him in an Avengers film, and that's totally in the MCU. I hope that makes sense. So Spider-Man in Avengers film is all MCU stuff. Spider-Man Homecoming is a Sony film that Marvel has the creative license to. Venom is strictly a Sony film that Marvel really doesn't have much to do with, and that's why you didn't see Peter Parker appear in a Venom film yet. So, but we're hearing there's new agreements that they're trying to do, so we shall see, because I think now they're seeing the popularity of Miles Morales, and Marvel would love to use Miles Morales on the big screen, and especially in that Spider-Man 3 movie that's coming out. So as we talked about on here, and we broke the scoop from our man Mikey Sutton, there's a new agreement that the Sony and Marvel did, so they're going to be using the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield versions in Spider-Man 3. We talked about this, I think, a year ago, that we talked about what was going to be happening with the Spider-Verse stuff, and that would take an agreements with Sony and Disney to be able to make all that work to get all these characters. That's why we already saw Jamie Foxx's Electro, right? We got what's his name's Doc Ock coming. So I mean, those are all old Sony films that Marvel's pulling from. So man, Spider-Man
Sandman's coming back.
Yeah, but I digress. Let's back to the list. So second Star Wars book on the list, in at number 5, Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron from 1995. That is a way early Dark Horse book that nobody cared about before that Disney investor call. So, all right, what do you got for number 4?
Another DC book,
Hey.
Justice Society of America #1. This is a DC 2006 release. So per comic book resources, it was announced that Quintessa Swindle will portray Cyclone in the upcoming DC film Black Adam, another addition to the Justice Society of America. This news helped spiked her first appearance in this issue and sold 29 copies, had a 7-day trend of 372%, and had a high sale of $105.50 for a CGC 9.8.
So we're finally getting some Black Adam news moving along here, man. So man, there's gonna be a lot of if that really blows up, man, there's a lot of really kind of obscure first characters in that version of the
This is a Jeff Johns run. Yeah.
This is the alternate Earth. This is Earth 2 characters that we're talking about, Justice Society, which is always kind of kooky. That goes all the way back to like the Silver Age, and back to, I guess, every time we bring up Sony and Spider-Man always is the biggest news. Peter Parker believes, and what we're saying is Miles Morales is coming, and from what our initial scoop was, he's going to be cameoed in Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 4. He will have a full-on appearance in it. So obviously Spider-Man 3 is already packed, but what we're hearing so far is it's going to be a Miles cameo, and then eventually you'll see full-on Ultimate Spider-Man in probably Spider-Man 4, because Spider-Man 3 is already packed. But I would imagine maybe an end credit scene or something like that. Kind of like the way Miles was introduced in the PS4 game, right? You didn't see him in costume, but they introduced him then he came into PS5, and the world just exploded. It just went crazy. So number 4 on the list is JSA, Justice Society of America, #1 from 2006, the Jeff Johns run. All right, number 3 on the list is I have never heard of.
Never heard. So get ready for this. This is a Dark Horse book, came out in 2019. Number 3 is Wired #1. And
is it Wired or Weird?
Wired. I don't know.
Yeah,
WYRD. Who knows? Maybe
I'd say Wired. I'd say Wired.
You say Wired. You're gonna go with me, Ryan?
I'm gonna go with Wired. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna go with Weird, man. I'm gonna go with Weird.
Of course.
Right.
You know, tomato. All right. So after a huge content last week, it's nice to have a quieter one with this week's news from Deadline, reporting that Matthew Raithis. I don't know. It's a headline: Wired drama inspired by a book in works at FX. From Sheldon Turner.
Matthew Rise. Right.
Matthew Rise.
Matthew Rise.
Okay. All right. So this helped the 1-year-old comic book land 10. It sold 20 copies and had a 7-day trend of 651%.
Wow.
And had a high sale of $29 and had a high grade for a raw
That just
copy.
means no one was buying this book 7 days ago.
Right, exactly. I've never even seen this, but I don't know anything about this.
And I think it shows confidence some people have in FX as a network, because FX does some great shows, and FX is also doing Why the Last Man. And there was word, but that book is, forget about it. That's a ghost. It's expensive. I have an 8.5 and I don't even want to sell it.
That book is like Saga.
I don't know how I got an 8.5, and that book looked pretty damn clean. But
you got lucky.
Yeah, well, so FX is doing. So FX does a lot of indie stuff, you know what I mean? And they're pulling, and FX is part of Disney if you really think about it, So, but FX is they have the proper budgets. Most FX shows I really enjoy. They're typically more adult. They're a little bit more violent, and they're done pretty well. I love that one show that takes place in the 80s about all the crack dealers in LA. I love that show, man. I forgot what it's called though, but it'll be back pretty soon. But there you go. So Wired, Word, whatever. number 1 from 2019. Look at that. The comic came out in 2019. It's already being optioned. I mean, it just goes to show what Hollywood is looking to especially long form storytelling. When I say long form, I mean like series, like on FX or ABC. And I mean, remember Stumptown? That was an ABC show that was from a comic as well. I mean, there's just. If you talk to the guys at CovrPrice and they live in LA, they'll tell you there are literally hundreds of projects that get bought up by Hollywood. Sometimes they come to fruition, and sometimes studios buy them so nobody else will. But FX, that's a platform that's already established, so there's good chances it'll come out. I mean, Why the Last Man was in option purgatory forever, and it finally looks like it's going. It really takes a creative team of producers and actors who really believe in a project to push it along to make sure the studios, stick to the plan, especially with the shutdown of quarantine, of COVID and Hollywood. A lot of things have been pushed aside, but you got to really believe in a project to make sure it happens and continues. And hopefully our friend Dustin Nguyen and Descender keeps moving. Sony's got the option on
another
that,
Lemire, another Lemire.
Jeff
book.
Lemire, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
And didn't they option Sweet Tooth as well?
Yeah.
So
a lot of these guys, I mean,
he's a great writer, though. I mean, I love
some comic writers just make comics in hopes it will get optioned, and you can tell in the storytelling. And some guys do the comics, and it becomes a story. Saga famously has said, "We will never ever adapt to the big screen unless Wes Anderson was to do it." And I think they did that tongue in cheek, right? Because Wes Anderson's style doesn't seem like it would be good for Saga. But Saga is one of those bulletproof books where it doesn't matter if it's being optioned by Hollywood. It just continues. It's just a great comic, crazy storyline, and people will continue collecting. And I don't know if people would think it's going to be optioned, but it's just like Tooth. Chew. Sure. That was a long option book too, where the guy was like a detective or something. He had to eat people's remains, and he would figure out. True. Yeah. So there you go. So number 3 on the list is Wired, Word number 1.
Although, didn't they do iZombie, and that kind of was? I mean, she was a zombie, but she got
same thing.
From eating them.
Eat people's brains or something like that. Yeah. Whatever happened to that show?
CW happened to that show.
Yeah, right? The CW's a kiss of death. I swear to God. Be careful of that Wonder Girl series. I'm just saying, everybody's jumping on that train now, but give it a couple years on CW and it could just drain the life out of it. But all right, so number 3, Wired, Word number 1 from Dark Horse 2019. I wonder what number 2 is going to be.
Well, hey, I'm going to say ditto everything that Otto said. Ditto. However, I do have a little to add. The Lemire variant took the lead here, as we see.
Oh boy.
It sold 29 copies. It had a 7-day trend of 716% and had a high sale of $40 for a raw copy.
Which is interesting because Jeff Lemire is known more as a writer as opposed to an artist. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm wondering, you get Jeff Lemire, you think, oh,
he did a cover for one of the Hawkeye books. Don't forget that. Yeah,
but he's more known for his writing. I mean, if you think about all of his stuff that he's done, so it's kind of interesting that, I mean, if you think about it, Donny Cates, Mr. Originality himself, Donny Cates did his own variant as well, like like trying to be like Jeff Lemire did in 2019.
But Lemire also wrote and drew. He writes and draws a lot of his books. Like he does both.
Yeah,
did,
I mean, that's
what was that indie where they were in space and it would you'd read it and it would go from back to forth. I forget. Anyway, he did that.
He did
He's
Sweet
done
Tooth. He did The Nobody. He did XX County. He did some
right,
stuff.
but he wrote and drew those is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So
Yeah, Descender he wrote, and obviously Dustin Wynn did the art for. I'm trying to think what else. Royal City.
Trillium is the book I was thinking
yeah.
of.
I think Royal City he did some covers for. Yeah, no, actually Royal City he was the writer and the artist on that one. So that's another one that he did back in March. So you don't see many of these on the big two, DC and Marvel.
Right.
You know, because, you know, the days of artists, writers are gone. John Byrne was probably the one that did it, you know, one of the best. Frank Miller obviously wrote and drew his own stuff. Todd McFarlane tried, but then realized he's a horrible writer, so he had other people write books for him and just stuck to doing his art. I mean, if you think about the original Spawn run, the best are the ones that's written by somebody else besides him.
Right.
You know, Jim Lee, not known as a storyteller. Most of these guys are artists, so, you know, it's a little bit different. So, all right. So, over under 3.5, there's 2 Star Wars books. So if you played the under, you're looking good. If you played the over, you're not going to win, because even if this last book is Star Wars book, that would only set it at 3, and the over under was 3.5. But what do we have for number 1?
We don't have a Star Wars book. We've got another Image book, though. So it's Solid Blood number 17. All right, so let's get this one ready. So this book came from A Parallel Universe, is a weird once per store issue that ties into the Donny Cates crossover event. This issue alters some of the comic/story history of certain Image books. It's a fun book that truly plays into a real what if. It easily landed in a top spot after selling 219 copies, had a 7-day trend of 438%, at a high sale of $49.99 for a raw copy. Solid Blood number 17. Okay. Yeah.
This is an alternate Mission story, right? I believe that's what it was told is. It's actually an alternate story of Mission from Walking Dead.
Oh.
And Robert Kirkman here, and I mean, you know what? I'll pull up the video because you know, Robert Kirkman was obviously trying to like wasn't really fooling anybody. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the video. I'm gonna play it for you guys here. Let's see. Let me make sure I can share this correctly. I never do, but in case you haven't seen it, I'm gonna play it here, and it's not copyrighted. So, so this came out like a few days ago, and that's when people really started specking on it. So, let me do the old Chrome tab. This one.
Oh,
share audio.
Sharing our screen.
Okay. And all right, so it's sharing now.
No, you got to take down the graphic.
Oh,
first.
okay. Hold on.
There you go.
All right, so let's go full screen, and I got the volume playing. This is what Robert Kirkman released on December 9th. So that was, you know, geez, that was like 2 weeks ago from tomorrow. Yeah. Let's see what old Robert has to say about this here book.
Hey everybody, Robert Kirkman here. This is kind of a weird one. I don't even really know where to begin. 2020. Never fails to surprise. So we got contacted at Image Comics about 3 weeks ago from the printer that said that they had found a pallet of books that had mysteriously arrived. They were there one morning when I guess they came to open up the warehouse. And they sent a few of the books to us. And well, let me just show you what we're talking about here. Hold on a second. This is apparently a comic book called Solid Blood by myself and Ryan Otley, and this is issue 17. But the thing is, these are characters that Ryan and I had discussed doing something with post Invincible. You know, that we definitely created, but Ryan is exclusive to Marvel. He just wrapped up a run on Amazing Spider-Man and is working on something in secret now for Marvel. And I am very busy with all the various different things that I'm doing. The new Invincible show you should all be excited about. Various Walking Dead programs. I've got Oblivion Song. I've got Firepower. I've got Outcast. Anyway, basically this is a comic book that we did not work on, that has come from I don't know where. I originally thought it was a prank that Ryan was trying to play on me, but he is claiming that that is not the case. I mean, this is like a full, real comic book, you know, and like reading it over, like it certainly seems like my work, and again, features characters that we have talked about. I mean, you can see it has a full credits page. You know, it's just, I don't know, man. It is super weird, but
Aliens.
there were,
Yeah.
you know, tens of thousands of copies of this comic book
Don't quit your
in
day job.
storage, and so I thought, you know, it's 2020. What the hell? Why don't we distribute this? So this is actually going to be in stores December 16th. So if you want to go to your local comic shop and get the most confusing comic book that
That was the most confusing explanation. What the hell is we
Well,
talking
we get
about?
the gist of it. All right,
Jesus.
don't quit your day job. You're a horrible actor. By the way.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
it just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, so it's just a weird one per store comic that they decided to come out with, but you know, he had to make a video to make it viral, I guess. I mean, he's so unhip and uncool about doing this that it didn't fool anybody. So, but you know what? Like he said, it's 2020. It came out, everybody grabbed it, but it's going to be a one-off. I believe it's a Mission alternate storyline that ties into the crossover thing.
Someone in the chat said, spoiler, that Michonne dies on the first page or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
But that wasn't true because he opened up the first page, so I don't
Oh
know.
my God.
It's a cool gimmick thing. You know, obviously he didn't fool anybody by doing this whole thing. I don't know where it came from. You know, it's kind of,
Yeah, come on.
but you know, either way, it's still a kind of a cool thing. But yeah, we've had these one per store variants. I mean, Kirkman has done this before, so it's just kind of, you know, kind of par for the course. But be careful where you go with this. Don't spend too much on it. It's a one-off, and you know, it's just all part of Donny Cates' hype machine that he's doing over on his book. I think there was even people who speculated that crossover was going to bring in the DC stuff and Marvel stuff, but pump your brakes and let the legal team worry about that. I don't think Marvel's going to allow him to do that with Image. I'm trying to remember the last Image crossover with Marvel would be. Would that be the Mephisto thing that came out? Remember there was a Witchblade and Wolverine cover and way back when in the 90s? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I do. I don't
yeah.
know what that one
Yeah,
was.
it was like it was like a thing where Mephisto, it mixed all the popular Image characters with the Marvel characters. And like, you know, I'm trying to think when else was there a Marvel. I mean, think about Marvel and DC would never do crossover. Yeah, Marvel and Image. It took a while for Marvel to kind of get over what the guys from Image did to them, right? If you think about McFarlane, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, all leaving Marvel, and then Marvel, you know, and Marvel really getting pissed off at first, and then finally they had to kind of be like, all right, we'll work with you guys because Image is absolutely blowing up now. But now, you know, Image is kind of all indie stuff, and they don't really. If you think about it, Todd McFarlane is the last vestige of what old Image used to be, where they used to have a combined universe. Remember the whole Darker Image thing, where they had like all the Youngblood titles and Wildcats and Jim Lee. Yeah, well, Jim Lee destroyed that when he sold out and took Wildstorm with him to DC, so DC could just kill it. I believe Grifter is like the few character that's coming back, but it had a ton of great Wildstorm characters that Jim Lee just absolutely pumped up, sold his soul to the devil of DC, and then destroyed the DC Comics universe as we know it. Jim Lee is a horrible publisher, and you can put that on wax. I'm saying it right now. He doesn't do anything besides Batman. You know, so we shall see. But hopefully there's going to be. Forget what you heard about Jim Lee still being a publisher. They got a new publisher in there, and that's why this new whole wave of Future State and everything is different. I mean, you know, Jim Lee can do his 1 in 500 variants, but for the most part, he destroyed DC Comics. I mean, it went from being a serious competitor to Marvel to now having just 20%, 30% of the market share, whereas they used to be pretty popular. There's so many Batman Who Laughs stories you can tell, and until you get fresh blood. That's why I'm happy to see that at least now they have some characters that they can build off of. Punchline, what's the new character you just talked about? All the Future State characters,
Yeah,
you know,
Future
finally
State stuff.
Hopefully they pump up a new blood enough to where AT&T can see them as a viable thing, because what I think is happening and what it looks like is happening. And another one is that new Wonder Woman book is coming out digitally first, and then it's going to be a trade 2 months later.
Right.
You should be worried about that as a comic book collector, because what's that telling you is They're just creating a digital property to get the intellectual property so then they can make a show or movie. If you think about the CW, they're already putting Naomi and Wonder Girl, who hasn't come out yet, on the CW. So if it continues on the CW, think about it. Why do they need a comic book to continue telling the stories if the CW is going to do it for you? I'm just thinking out loud, out loud. So, if you want the comics to survive and succeed, buy them as much as you can, because if CW is just cranking out shows and they don't need to publish comics, the suits at AT&T are going to look at the cheaper avenue possible of getting the properties onto CW, HBO Max, and the big screen. So if they don't make comics, if I can create a character and it goes onto the digital platform, that's so much cheaper than actually publishing comics every month and getting a writer, an artist, an editor, letterer, and all those. You know what I'm saying?
All
So
out there, right.
Yeah. So just be careful what you wish for everything streaming. You still want the
or take it one step further. What if they just go strictly digital and they don't do any printed copies anymore?
Well, if you guys read the tea leaves, the person who took over for Dan DiDio, I forgot the woman's name, but I've been saying this for months now. And as soon as they hired her, guess where she came from? She replaced Dan DiDio as a very, very old school comic publisher, to the point where the new school cats who are easily offended and, get their feelings hurt, like Cyborg, they can work with Dan DiDio anymore. They fired Dan DiDio, who's a very old school guy. If you like him or don't like him, it's just how you did your job. Your boss yells at you, you man up, you do your job. Mm-hmm. Well, the new person that took over for Dan DiDio, guess where she came from? She came from the digital comic side of DC Publishing. That's
tea leaves.
If she pushes that narrative, then you got to think, man, Stargirl's another good example, right? Is there a new Stargirl comics? Because that show has gone on. And I would say Stargirl I enjoy Stargirl. I mean, I know it's kind of for, younger people, but it's fun comic book stuff on TV, right? I'm on, because I think it's on HBO Max now, right?
Yeah.
Stargirl. Yeah.
Yep. Is
there a Stargirl ongoing comic right now?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know though. I would have to defer to the live chat.
There you go, man. So I'm just saying, it's kind of interesting, man. You want it to be hand in hand, where you have that ongoing and I hate to pull like Marvel versus DC, but Marvel takes the comic book stories, and that's why I tell you, typically it's from 5-6 years ago, like an established storyline in the comics, and they say, hey, let's take that and put it on the films, right? Mm-hmm. They just showed you with another example of that will be Armor Wars. Armor Wars is already an established comic book of a story that they're going to develop onto a series. So sometimes, let the horse lead the cart as opposed to the cart leading the horse, right? Is that the metaphor?
Yes.
Is that an analogy?
That is.
Whatever. It's an assembly at this point. Yeah. That's it, boys and girls. So we stretched that out for a good 45 minutes, but I want to thank you guys all for being with us. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Festivus, or nothing if you don't celebrate at all. But I want to thank you for being with us for this entire year after we rebuilt the channel and had to grind back up to 57 subs, whatever. So what really been proud of the channel this year is a lot of our subscribers watch our stuff. Our subscriber to views is pretty good. We have 5,000 subs and we get about 2,000-3,000 views. That means more than up to 50% of our subscribers are watching.
It's pretty awesome.
If you have 200,000 subscribers and you only get 3,000 views, that is like less than 2% of your subscribers are watching.
Whack.
So we appreciate all you guys watching that are subbed up. That means when you guys get that notification, you guys are coming in and watching what we're doing, and we appreciate every single one of you, 120 of you watching right now. We know it's the holidays, but hey, you're quarantining with us. So
right.
you are literally a captive audience.
You have no choice. That's right. 8 months it is. 8 months.
You are literally a captive audience, and I appreciate you. I'm saying all this now because I don't know if we'll be back on before Christmas, but I will have a scoop dropping on Christmas Day. It is pre-recorded as part of the Geekosity Scoop Jam. Mine is MCU related. I will say it is... Oh, you're going to have to watch. I'm going to drop it on Christmas Day.
I've seen the list.
Yes.
I recommend watching that on Christmas. And then watch The Lord's first, and then go watch the Wonder Woman 84 movie.
Yes,
yeah, right. I'm watching Wonder Woman 84. I'm watching Soul. And I'm watching everything, man, because you can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Gotta watch it all.
Actually, that's what our tradition is on Christmas. Christmas Day. Oh, actually, we open up our presents Christmas night, but then Christmas Day, we go to the movies. Same with Thanksgiving night, we go to the movies, and we just haven't been able to do that this year, man. It just kind of sucks that way, but that's the tradition. And for all my Salvadoran friends, we'll be getting pupusas, tearing that shit up, son. Gotta get the
Nice.
pupusas,
Those are
man.
good.
Salvadoran food, man. So, all right. So, Merry Christmas to you all. Like I said, if we see you Thursday, it'll be earlier in the day. If our shakers list, I won't do it Christmas evening because I know most of the lords will be busy. So, if anything, we'll drop it around noon. Any last words, Santa Otto?
No, thank you very much for joining. I'm glad I could join in tonight. And as always, please head over to 3 Men in the Basement and sub up. I got some videos dropping soon. We're having a great time over on that channel. Roger Levesque, Dave in the Cave. It's just been an absolute blast. Good to join you guys tonight. I'm glad I could jump in.
It's good you got out early.
Yes, I got out early.
Yeah, we needed somebody with the Santa hat.
That's right. It's good Christmas, goddamn it.
Ryan should have the Santa hat and then done the whole.
Yeah,
thing,
I did it last week, and I forgot to wear it this week. But Merry Christmas to everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. We really, really do appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah. So, there any hints on what the scoop is? Well, I will say this, man. I've kind of been dropping hints on it for a year now, and it's actually been something we've already talked about before, probably 7 or 8 months ago. And I think it's just gonna be
Spooky,
horrific.
Oh, okay.
Keep digging in the long boxes. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, and all that. We'll be back before the new year, but Merry Christmas and keep scary.